inshallah. Okay, I see it's on live, so boleh everyone ready ya, inshallah.
Bismillah.
Bismillah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us for our discussion via MIASA's Facebook live on our discussion today on suicide, the ripple effect. I'm Puan Anita and I will be moderating this session today and also providing some insights as needed along this discussion as well. Joining me today, Alhamdulillah, kita ada Ustaz Muhammad Noderus, our Vice President too of MIASA and also a spiritual healer. Kita ada Kak Ngah. Alhamdulillah, Kak Ngah is the founder of Awas, which is a social media platform, Kak Ngah. Awareness against suicide, and also Brother Abdullah, who will be joining us, who is currently joining us via audio. Welcome everyone and thank you so much for being part of this discussion. Ustaz, apa khabar?
Baik, Alhamdulillah. Apa khabar semua? Baik, harap yang mendengar juga dalam keadaan baik insyaAllah.
Kak Ngah, macam mana kita hari ini?
Okay, Alhamdulillah. Looking forward to this.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. And also Abdullah, how are you?
Okay, Alhamdulillah. Terima kasih sebab menjemput saya.
Terima kasih banyak-banyak. So today is a very important discussion to be holding on a Thursday morning, but of course crucial for change and in the reduction of stigma. Tetapi of course every time when we do such sessions is to take away the shame from this conversation, from people that are struggling with mental health disorders, and especially those that are battling suicidal thoughts, ideation, contemplating. We are here to help, inshallah. So please reach out. You're not alone. We may not be able to provide all the answers ataupun solutions to your problems or know the depth of your pain and struggles, but surely we care and we will do our level best to help in every way possible. I always say that stigma is truly the poison of it all. It silences people, it creates shame, fear, and people giving up. So this conversation is very much needed, and kita dah lama sebenarnya, Kak Ngah, kita nak buat sebenarnya. Alhamdulillah hari ini sampailah hajat kita, insyaAllah, sama-sama. So today's topic is suicide, the ripple effect. And just to give those that are listening a little bit of insights, hari ini Ustaz, Kak Ngah dengan Abdullah kita buat campur-campur lah bahasa Melayu dan juga bahasa Inggeris insyaAllah. So berdasarkan topik kita hari ini, suicide, a ripple effect, sebenarnya I've heard this quote couple times in my journey with MIASA sebenarnya. And this is something that I hold close to my heart, with the work that I do, with the work that MIASA does. And I first heard it during the story that I followed with Kevin Hines, and I think a lot of us know him. He survived a suicide attempt. He turned a tragedy into inspiration and hope. Alhamdulillah, and his story is proof sebenarnya that no one wants to die. Although he attempted, but only to realize a millisecond later that it wasn't what he wanted. And, following his thought process as he narrates, it in this video provides a lot of depth in terms of understanding and also how a person is actually in desperate need of help. And if we were to just give the person a chance, a time of a day, it could have disrupted his plan and he wouldn't have attempted. So this realization for me watching this video gives me a lot of hope that we as the society can actually play a role in preventing suicide. Alhamdulillah. So because of that, I have, Kak Ngah and also Abdullah today to provide that insight, insyaAllah. So, sebenarnya banyak perkara-perkara yang kita perlu perbincangkan hari ini, tapi of course there's not a lot of time, tapi hopefully we can get to the crux of the issue, and hopefully it will provide a lot of insights and understanding, and it will translate into a change in behavior. I'm really, really hoping, insyaAllah. So to open this, soalan pertama kepada Ustaz insyaAllah. We have seen, Ustaz, a lot of report ataupun news on suicide as of recent, especially being in the pandemic of COVID-19, suicide risk have increased. Kalau kita tengok pun lah Ustaz, sepanjang sejarah manusia pun apabila epidemik berlaku, ramai sebenarnya yang contemplate dan juga yang mengakhiri kehidupan via suicide. And as of recent dekat Malaysia pun kita tengok baru-baru ni ada remaja katanya mengikut laporan that wanted to end her life because her dad didn't allow her to play games. And this is what we call as unsafe reporting, headlines yang sensationalizing headlines, which is very harmful, very unsafe, oversimplifying the issue, disclosing methods, disclosing location, pictures, etc. So this is what, at MIASA and also AWAS, what we're trying to do in terms of educating the media on safe reporting. Why is it harmful for those, the vulnerable people out there, etc., etc. How does it lead to suicide contagion dan sebagainya. Jadi Ustaz, soalan pertama saya kepada Ustaz adalah, what are your thoughts on this issue, Ustaz, and what would you like to say to the people that read such news? Sebab apa yang berlaku selalunya lah Ustaz kan, a lot of people are very quick to judge. Kita ni sebenarnya mudah dan cepat menghukum, terutamanya perkara-perkara yang kita kurang ilmu ataupun mungkin tidak pernah berinteraksi pun dengan mereka yang ada penyakit mental ataupun yang battle suicidal thoughts and ideation. Jadi mungkin Ustaz sedikit kata-kata mungkin hikmah lah daripada Ustaz, insyaAllah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning everyone. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shower all of us with his blessings, insyaAllah, and may we attain beneficial knowledge, and may we attain the happiness in this world and the hereafter, no matter whatever struggles that we are going through. Allah is there, Allah is compassionate, Allah is merciful. Resolve will come in his time, not in the time that we wanted, pada waktu yang Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kan, bukan pada waktu yang kita inginkan. And the time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have decreed will be the best of time. So I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the patience and sincerity, insyaAllah, and to the community more compassion. Okay, firstly with regards to the responsible journalism dulu, I touch upon that.
Betul, Ustaz.
My suggestion, of course the community needs to know about the crisis. But how do we convey the extent of this crisis? Do we need to report it every time there is a suicide? Imagine there is suicide every day. Imagine, na'udzubillah. If we do that, we report that every single day, and what effect does that have on the psychology of the community, especially those who already have ideation, for example? Why not? This is my suggestion. Why not consolidate or compile satu bulan punya cases without giving the details, without giving the methods, giving out the methods, just alarm the community that this is going on and the crisis is there. We don't need the detail. The details are not important. We just need to know whether this crisis dah sampai satu tahap yang I call it as a cry of desperation already. There is no cry of desperation that is more intense than the suicide rate. Okay? You can see the community may be steeped in alcoholism or crisis of fornication or crisis of abuse, but the crisis of suicide is the most intense desperation call. There's no other desperation call higher than this. So this is a call for the government, okay, to tengok betul-betul masalah rakyat ini. Okay, rakyat dah tak tahu nak ke mana lagi. And then number two, for the community themselves to be compassionate, to realize that this problem is already here, present with us. We have to acknowledge it. We cannot sweep it under the carpet. We cannot give simplistic analysis or simplistic solutions. It does not work like that. Okay, before it grows bigger, we need to buckle up and need to come together and provide a solution for this. I will touch more later. I will touch more this point.
Betul. Thank you very much, Ustaz. I think it's very important because a lot of times the media talks about ethical reporting, which of course kita semua tahu, tetapi safe reporting ni is so important and crucial. I mean, I think it's so evident, especially apabila dekat dalam media kan Ustaz ada laporan pasal a celebrity or public figure that ends their life, following that a lot of people end their lives as well. Jadi ini sudah terbukti sebenarnya, for the longest time. Thank you very much Ustaz. Okay, Alia, Kak Nga, what would you like to say to the people about this, those that read the news, that listen about stories ataupun such reporting? What would you like to say to them?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Puan Anita, MIASA, for inviting. I think what people need to know, let me begin with telling everyone that suicide is such a personal issue for me. It's very close to my heart. I am a suicide loss survivor, and the most important thing about what is happening out there, or the pictures or the news that is circulating, I think before people viralkan, before people forward WhatsApp or news or share, click the share button, they need to know or be reminded or imagine, sometimes kita ni lack of empathy. Just imagine for once before you press that click button, imagine if that person, that picture, that news yang tengah, in desperation, like Ustaz cakap, crying for help, it's actually a cry for help, is your mother, is your father, your brother, your friend, your best friend, husband, wife. If we for a second stop, pause, and really think about it, like take it as if, itu mak atau ayah kita, itu somebody's father, itu somebody's mother, somebody's whatever, loved ones. Would you do that? Would you do that to yourself? Would you sendiri nak viral or sendiri nak forward those pictures, if that was your father or mother or loved ones? So I think I would start with that.
Thank you very much, Alia. I think the important point here is a person that is contemplating, the person that is battling suicidal thoughts, ideation, they are in desperate need of help. It's not about them wanting to end their life, they want to end the pain. Tapi kita sebagai ahli masyarakat ada peranan dan kita boleh memainkan peranan dengan baik sebenarnya. So like you said, come from a place of empathy and compassion. And this is, Kak Nga, one of the things that I talk a lot about with our crisis team. Sebab kadang-kadang being in the crisis team, helping people in crisis, sometimes we feel it's very challenging. We feel overwhelmed. And of course, it's normal to feel overwhelmed. It's not easy to help a person in crisis. If it's easy, everyone would be doing the work. But because it's difficult, because it's challenging, tak ramai orang akan buat, kerja ni sebenarnya. So coming from that place of empathy, coming from that place of compassion, and like you said, I always tell them, bayangkan it's your own family member. Every time when you help a person, if you imagine that, it will change how you think, it will change how you treat the person, it will change on how you respond to the person. Tapi kalau kita anggap the person is a stranger, definitely kita macam buat asal sudah aja sebenarnya. Because it has nothing to do with us. It's not us going through it. So it's not just a person, it's not a problem. It's not just a person battling suicidal thoughts and ideation ataupun contemplating, even a person that is going through apa sahaja sebenarnya. So kalau kita rasa we want to help, this is the mindset that we have to have. So thank you very much, Kak Nga, for that. Abdullah, how do you feel reading such news, for a person like you that is, struggling ataupun going through such, struggles? Apa Abdullah rasa when you read such news, such unsafe reporting sebegini, Abdullah?
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Saya sangat setuju dengan poin Kak Ngah tadi. Yang mana bila kita tengok ataupun kita baca benda-benda macam ni, kena ada sense of empathy.
Yep.
Bila kita kadang-kadang ialah apabila dengan social media ni kita laju nak komen, nak forward, nak viralkan semua. Tapi kalau saya pegang macam ni lah, benda kita tak tahu, baik senyap je. Kita tak tahu macam mana keadaan dia, kita tak tahu kenapa dia buat benda tu. Kadang-kadang ialah netizen cepat nak komen, tiba-tiba tulis dia ni masuk syurga ke tak? Dia ni confirm neraka ke tak?
Kita lebih tahu kan? Kita lebih tahu pula.
Macam lebih tahu pula. Lepas tu kalau tak tahu baik senyap je. Memang kadang-kadang kita apa panggil ada keinginan untuk share kat WhatsApp status supaya orang tengok betul post-post ni macam hangat apa. Tapi dia lah kena pandai-pandai jagalah. Kena ada empathy lah. Bayangkan kalau yang suicide tu adik-beradik kita ke apa. Macam Kak Ngah cakap tadi. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Abdullah. Okay, now going into the conversation of suicide, the ripple effect. As we know, there's a lot of stigma when it comes to talking about this issue. Taboo, a lot of taboo, not only in the Malay culture, Chinese, Indian pun sama. Jadi when a Muslim especially dies via suicide, the person and the family will be shunned upon, condemned, shamed, judged, including families. And shockingly, even debates about where this person should be buried happens, unfortunately. So to be considered a suicide, the death must be a central component and intention of the act. Ustaz, can you please shed some light, Ustaz, on this issue and the Islamic laws, rulings on suicide? Sebab walaupun lama dah kita berbincang tentang perkara ni, Ustaz, dia masih tetap menjadi FAQ, dan apabila kita melihat netizens memberikan komen, kita masih tahu mereka tidak memahami, Ustaz. Jadi mungkin Ustaz boleh kongsikan sedikit, memberikan pencerahan kepada yang mendengar, insyaAllah.
Thank you, Puan Anita. Okay, please hear me out till the end, because this question is very detrimental if we got it wrongly. If you take it by just parts of what I said and blur out the other parts, it will be very, very detrimental, very, very dangerous. I would like to begin with this. Saya nak mulakan. Saya nak katakan bahawa yes, we have to acknowledge that suicide, the hukum of suicide in Islam is haram. Okay, it is considered one of the gravest sin, antara dosa besar dalam agama kita. This is a fact that kita tak boleh nak deny. And it is true, if you go through the Quran, if you go through the Sunnah of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we find serious warnings against suicide. Bahkan Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam banyak kali mengulang benda ni. I took time to think and sit for this. I say, what is the effect of such warnings to Muslims? I do not want to speak about other religions for now, but to Muslims dulu. Is there any deterrent effect? Okay, warning seperti ini ada tak kesan positif untuk menghalang ramai orang yang ada ideation ni untuk tidak melakukannya? Atau ia sebenarnya lebih menolak orang untuk buat? Does it encourage people to do it? Atau it has a deterrent effect? No, we have to seriously think about this. Even though it does not sound pleasant, it can sound very harsh, it can sound very macam tak empatik kalau kita baca sekali lalu. Kalau kita baca sekali lalu nampak macam tak empatik. Like what Rasulullah SAW said, siapa yang membunuh diri dia dengan pisau, dengan besi, ke akhirat nanti dia akan terus diazab dengan besi tersebut. Siapa yang membunuh diri dia melompat dari tempat tinggi, maka dia akan diazab berterusan. So you not only take that portion of my answer, please. This is very, very important, brothers and sisters. You see, there are a number of studies done, about the suicide rate among Muslims globally, and there are also some research which focuses on specific countries, like Malaysia, Singapore, and the conclusion are all the same. The suicide rate among the Muslims are the lowest globally. Okay, I do not negate the possibility that there can be some form of underreporting. Okay, but some Muslim countries we can understand, maybe ada some underreporting, but there are studies done on non-Muslim countries with significant Muslim population, and the results are the same. The lowest are among the Muslims. So I would want to believe that this ayat Quran, this ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which sounds very harsh actually, okay, which serves as a warning, actually has a very compassionate effect on people. Dia ada kesan yang compassionate kepada manusia sebenarnya. Many people who have a strong belief system, yang ada kepercayaan agama yang kuat, yang tak nak terfikir pun pasal suicide sebab takut. Sebab takut. And we've heard this from people yang came to us, you know, with some form of psychological illness. Say, Ustaz, saya tak nak terfikir pun pasal benda tu. Dia bukan dah fikir, dia dah nip it from the bud. Why? Because he remembered these verses and he remembered these ahadith of Rasulullah SAW. Even though their state is in a very, very bad state, tapi they would not consider it at all. See, I see that as a Masya Allah, Alhamdulillah. Okay, walaupun dia dah dalam keadaan macam ni, dia tak terfikir pun, dia tak nak fikir pun tentang suicide. But people who have already went to the stage of ideation, then a different treatment, cara yang berbeza kita kena deal dengan mereka secara agama. Okay, that's why I say there is no one size fits all. You don't meet everyone who have suicidal ideation or has a tendency to suicide with these verses and with these hadith. You don't do that. You need to look at the case, mengikut konteks dia, case by case basis. Yeah. You see, some may ask, what is the logic behind this warning? I see it as a simple logic. Yeah. Why is it effective? Yeah? Because many people who choose suicide, yeah, if I can put it crudely, yeah, please pardon me if I misrepresent this. Please correct me. Yeah. Saya harap minta betulkan saya. What I understand is that most of them, if not many of them, wanted suicide is because they want to end their suffering. Okay, no matter in what form, maybe shame, guilt, ya, dia tak nak salahkan orang lain, tak nak orang terbeban dengan diri dia. Okay, I will put it in a sentence, they want to end the suffering. But if they have a strong belief system, knowing that kalau mereka meninggal, kalau mereka membunuh diri, that suffering will not end, instead it will multiply, of course they will not do it. Betul tak? This I'm talking about people yang betul-betul ada pembelajaran Islam, pembelajaran akidah yang betul-betul berakar, yang betul-betul kuat. Okay. My answer belum habis lagi, belum habis lagi. Jangan ambil situ saja. Don't conclude anything, please. Okay. You see, having said that, okay, we must consider two things. Muslims must consider two things when we hear cases of suicide. Number one, the person who commit the suicide act, was he conscious during that time? This fact no one knows. No one will be able to know. When we're speaking about consciousness, we're talking about berakal pada waktu itu. Okay, berakal ni, I'm not talking about the opposite, which is orang gila. Tidak. Orang biasa boleh tiba-tiba hilang akal kerana kemarahan yang melampau, betul tak? Kerana kesedihan yang melampau, the great impact of a tragedy, suddenly, tragedy after tragedy, the mind can shut down. This is a fact that we cannot deny. Kita tak boleh nak nafikan hakikat ini. So people who committed suicide mostly done, of course, when they are alone. Orang tak tahu keadaan minda mereka pada waktu itu. Ada in a state of berakal ataupun tidak. And we know that Rasulullah SAW says, "Rufi al-qalamu an thalath." And accountability is lifted from three groups of people. Number one, anin naim hatta yastayqiz, from someone who is asleep until he wakes up. Okay, so if someone were to sleepwalk and were to kill someone or kill themselves, okay, they will not be held accountable for it. Okay, and then anil majnuni hatta yafiq. Accountability is lifted from someone who is tak berakal, sehinggalah dia masuk kepada tahap berakal. Okay, it means Rasulullah understood this fact that sometimes seorang tu can be sane throughout his life and suddenly boleh switch kepada state tidak berakal, and then come back to the original state. Boleh, benda ni boleh berlaku. And then anis sabi hatta yakbur. Accountability is lifted from a child until he reaches puberty. So when our community considers this fact, they will not jump to conclusion. They will not conclude, oh, orang ni ahli neraka, ini su'ul khatimah. Kita tak tahu. Okay? kita tak tahu, kita suspend judgment. Warning tadi tu daripada Quran dan Sunnah tu adalah untuk orang yang belum buat, untuk masyarakat yang belum ada masalah, supaya mereka tak terfikir pun, to nip it from the bud. Okay, not for us to use to judge orang yang dah meninggal dunia. You see, in terms of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, dia asam sahabah yang meninggal bunuh diri. Rasulullah hanya tahu dia su'ul khatimah atau husnul khatimah daripada wahyu daripada Allah Subhanahu wa taala. Today we don't have wahyu. And not all of them su'ul khatimah, not all of them su'ul khatimah yang bunuh diri. Yeah, we have to understand this fact. I want to share a hadith later. And point number two that Muslims must consider when we hear a case of suicide is this. There is still a possibility of forgiveness. Okay, the possibility of forgiveness is still there. It is narrated in Sahih Bukhari with regards to Sahaba. Okay, one is Tufail bin Amr al-Dawsi. He went for a hijrah with his friend to meet Rasulullah SAW in Madinah, to support Rasulullah's cause in Madinah. And the friend was inflicted with a sickness, with a disease that he cannot bear. And what he did was he slit his arm, yeah. He slit his wrist, sorry. Dia kelar lah, dia kelar dia punya tangan tu. And he eventually died of that act. Of course, it is deemed as suicide lah. But after he passed away, his friend Amr bin Tufail al-Dawsi got a dream. He got a dream. He saw his friend in a good state, except his wrist. It is bandaged. Okay, in the dream, he saw his friend in a good state, except with a bandaged wrist. Okay. And then he asked his friend in the dream, "What have God done to you?" So, good. Yeah, he has treated me well, except this hand of mine. Okay, and Allah told me, since you have damaged it, you have to heal it yourself. Yeah, you have to heal it yourself. Okay, and Tufail met Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and asked him about this dream. Subhanallah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said this: "Oh Allah, forgive him and forgive his hand too." Ya Allah, ampunkan dia dan ampunkan juga tangan dia itu. Ampunkan juga tangan dia itu. Look at that response. Okay, and one thing that we have to know about Tufail and his friend is that they actually went to Madinah to support Rasulullah SAW for a very important cause. That means people who are doing a good work, tengah membuat suatu perjuangan yang besar, they can make mistakes, they can fall into sin. Yeah, boleh. But Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala is not a dictator. Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala ni is a compassionate mother, like a compassionate mother. Okay, bahkan lebih compassion daripada seorang ibu. Dia tak akan tengok one case seorang anak buat silap, condemn terus masuk neraka. Tidak. Allah akan timbang kebaikan dia, kesilapan dia, kesalahan dia, and Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala will conclude by looking at all that. So we as a community, as Muslims, we have to learn, we have to take this akhlaq from Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, from Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So if you consider these 2 points, inshallah, the community will be more mature when dealing with the cases of suicide. Wallahu a'lam.
Thank you very much, Ustaz. I'm glad you shared that story, Ustaz. Walaupun Ustaz dah berkongsi banyak kali, tapi mungkin ada di kalangan yang mendengar belum pernah mendengar lagi cerita ni. So hopefully there's more empathy and more understanding lah, insyaAllah. Terima kasih, Ustaz. Okay, Kak Ngah, soalan pertama untuk forum kita ni, insyaAllah. Kak Ngah, you mentioned, in the beginning tadi that you are a suicide loss survivor. And I remember a couple years ago hearing from someone that had a similar experience as you sebenarnya, di mana this speaker was representing NAMI pada waktu tu, the National Alliance of Mental Illness. Seperti kita tahu, NAMI ni is a huge movement, lebih kurang 200,000 members in United States of America. Dan kemudiannya apa yang berlaku, the speaker was sharing about her brother that had schizophrenia. And I remember she said that when they were kids, you know, her brother ni would tell their friends while they were playing that he had schizophrenia. So satu hari ni, the sister was very angry and pulled the brother aside and said, you know, why do you have to tell everyone that you have schizophrenia? You know, it's none of their business, you know. So she was the one that was really angry. Dia macam relax je. And then what happened was he replied and he said, because, you know, I want them to leave me before I start caring for them. And you know, a few years later, her brother died via suicide. And she said, you know, a speaker mentioned yesterday that stigma, you know, is the true poison of it all, and indeed it is. Because I spoke about stigma, you know, and I always say it's the true poison sebenarnya. So, you know, from your pengalaman lah, Kak Ngah, kan losing a loved one to suicide is obviously, you know, painful. It is coupled with extreme guilt and unfortunately ending with no closure. So not only you lose a person, you know, your loved one, tetapi, you know, it's a double whammy because there's no closure and you lose them via suicide. And it will give you that orang kata coming to a place of total, you know, shockness, a lot of guilt, extreme guilt, you know, anger, regret, all these things which I, of course, can't fathom sebenarnya, Kak Ngah. So maybe if you can share a little bit of, you know, how this experience affected you and how it was for you, and how do you embrace this pain and loss, Kak Ngah. I know it has been a long journey for you, tapi hopefully, Kak Ngah, through what, you know, you can share today, kita boleh melihat kepentingan of postvention, membantu mereka yang kehilangan orang tersayang melalui suicide, because we very much focus on suicide prevention sebenarnya, ya, Kak Ngah, Ustaz dan Abdullah, tetapi tak banyak kepada membantu the bereaved. So mungkin Kak Ngah boleh kongsi sedikit, insyaAllah.
Alright. I have been, thank you, Anita. I have been a suicide loss survivor for almost a decade now, hampir 10 tahun lah. So, but I must say this, although 10 tahun, there isn't a day goes by that I don't think of my loved one who passed by suicide. The guilt, the anger, the regret, the agony is still very much there, to be very, very honest. And I feel like there's no way to erase these feelings. There's no way one can erase it, because selagi kita berakal, selagi kita bernyawa, selagi kita ada perasaan, you know, it's going to be a constant thing on my mind and my heart. But the only way I feel to deal with this, to deal with the loss, anger, shame, guilt, and all that is by managing it. That's what we do. You know, people who are struggling with mental health, sometimes they know they cannot cure their illness, but, you know, one way to survive, or one way to deal with it is by managing all these emotions and feelings. And as for the experience of losing a loved one to suicide, like I said, it's, you know, like the shock is there, the numb, you know, when I received the news, it was more like shock and numb and confused, and the sense of powerlessness, you know, like, what do I do? You know, there's so much feelings, you know, going on, like in the head, in the mind. Not only we have to deal with what is in our head, what is in our heart, what we are feeling, what I am feeling, but at the same time, we had to deal with people's perception and stigma and, you know, nasty remarks and all that, you know. And the grief did not hit right away, because there was a lot of shock and, you know, trying to process everything. But when you know, after like a couple of days, perhaps, you know, when the grief really hits, you know, I must say that it was the loneliest and darkest place that I've ever been in. It was just, you know, it was just terrifying. It was just, you know, so lonely, and you just, like I said, you just feel powerless and don't know what to do. And my whole life experience has changed because of this. Usually the suicide loss survivors will say their life is divided into two. It's pre-suicide, pre-experiencing the loss, or post-experiencing loss. So that's exactly how my life is now. And it's worse because I'm a psychology graduate. So I felt guilty. I felt really guilty. I feel like I should have been the gatekeeper, kononnya somebody who knows a lot about psychology, about, I beat myself to it because I feel like, I should have noticed the signs.
You should have seen the signs, kan?
Exactly, yeah. And to be honest, in retrospect, I saw the signs. It's just that I didn't know, like we tend to dismiss all these things,
we think it would never be us, it would never be our family, kan?
Exactly, our family, our friends, our loved one,
Betul.
never. Yeah. Kita selalu bila kita dapat berita apa-apa yang tragic, kita selalu rasa it's it's going to happen not to us,
someone
but
else.
to someone else in a different neighborhood or far away, things like that. So at the same time, I was dealing with a lot of self-hatred. So, and, because of the guilt, the shame, and I developed depression, clinical depression and anxiety as a result of this. And, there was a lot of anger issues as well at the same time. Of course, it affected the people around me, my marriage, my children, and all that. And I was just angry. There was a lot of angry with everyone, everything, and there was, I had to declutter one by one, declutter my emotions. I tried to reach out. Honestly, I know I was not okay. I tried to reach out to some organizations, but at that point of time, there was none. 10 years ago, there was zero help for postvention. Postvention is very important, I feel. And that's why I founded AWAS, because, postvention is specifically for people who have lost loved ones to suicide, and they are at higher risk of being suicidal themselves. Many research have shown that people who have lost loved ones to suicide are at risk themselves of being suicidal. And I was there. I was at that that place of hopelessness and but how I guess I handled it or deal with the grief. I wanted to heal so much, I was desperate. I couldn't find people who were in the same boat as I am, So I decided to create this social media platform on awareness, on suicide awareness. And at the same time, in the hope to find people who are who've gone through the same thing. And Alhamdulillah, we have a support group now. It's called Hugs, or Healing Untold Grief. It's a small group of, very small, but it's a community of comfort and support. So, and I guess we have to learn to manage the pain. You like it or not, it's not something you can just erase or delete. So, it's something you have to manage and learn. There's a lot of learning and educating and challenging the mindset, you have to change all the beliefs, the old beliefs that you have, like, shame for speaking out. For a long time, I didn't want to speak up. For a long time, I was scared because I was scared of being judged. I was scared of, it's something that people don't talk about, especially Muslims, I don't want to have to deal with people thinking that, this loved one of mine is ahli neraka, that it was hurtful and painful, And, but the more I learn, alhamdulillah, and I feel education is the key to liberate someone from the stigma. So learning and relearning helps and have helped. And this, the support group support each other. And the reason why I show up today is I feel like the most important thing is not about my grief. I'm not here to tell everyone, about my suffering or grief. That's number two. Number one is please take this message, seriously, that you think that suicide cannot happen. You might think that it will never happen. It will only happen in cerita, movie, Hollywood and things like that. But if you let your loved ones or yourself or your friends, your colleagues, they are struggling with mental health, and if they don't go, if it goes untreated and not being supported, that's where the danger comes in. That's where you risk them to suicide, I feel. So.
Thank you very much Kak Ngah for sharing that. I think it's extraordinary sebenarnya Kak Ngah, sebab 10 tahun perjalanan Kak Ngah ni, you turn your experience into something very valuable, which is helping other people. And of course, like you say, there's so much stigma, attached to it, a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. So thank you so much Kak Ngah for sharing this. And peer support, kita semua tahu Kak Ngah, is evidence based. So sudah tentu when you create, hugs.
Hugs S2 for support lah. So
healing, S2 for support. Okay.
Healing Untold Grief Support Group. So hugs, boleh.
Alhamdulillah, very, very good.
May I, sorry, Puan Anita, may I add one more thing? I actually rujuk Ustaz Nurdarus because I saw that he's very active with mental health and
yes.
So I rujuk before I started this advocacy work. I was in a lot of pain and struggling, and I wanted to reach out and to the people who. So I asked him if I were to advocate for this, not advocating for people to pergi suicide, but advocating for healing, but I cannot advocating without telling people my story. I'm not going to go into details. I will never go into detail about it. It's so painful. But the matter of fact is, I asked Ustaz, is it wrong? Berdosakah saya? Adakah ia membuka aib? That was one of my question to Ustaz, because the stigma, because Melayu dan Muslim kita ni selalu sangat relate cakap pasal mental illness, cakap pasal kita punya masalah as membuka aib, right? So I was I was confused, but I know I needed help. I know I wanted to support other people and be supported. So Ustaz kata, no, it's not membuka aib. So because of that, I go ahead and and strive for it. So thank you.
Alhamdulillah. Kak Ngah, this brings me to this person that I met. He lost his stepson to suicide, and he told me, he came up to me because dia dengar I was talking about it in this one program, and after the program ended, he came up, he spoke to me, and he said he also belongs to NAMI, one of the caregivers in NAMI who does a lot of advocacy work, and he said, my last contact, he said, with my stepson, he reached out to me. The stepson actually reached out to him, tapi he felt very angry, dia cakap, at that point of time, because he didn't understand it. A person that looks fine, that was doing well in school, semua okay sebenarnya secara fasadnya, tetapi bapak tiri tu tidak memahami sebenarnya the struggle of anak dia, stepson ini. So what happened was, he said, my last contact with my stepson, he said, was I punched him and he fell to the floor. And there is not a day that I go through this life not regretting what I did, because he took his life after that. Jadi because of that, he said, I have now dedicated my life volunteering in NAMI to provide this awareness, exactly like what you're doing, Kak Ngah. So let me tell you, this is great work. Not everyone is doing it. We need more people like you. We need more people to provide postvention sebenarnya. Not only, like I had this discussion with you, not only to the bereaved, tetapi juga kepada mereka kan Ustaz, yang di mana banyak kita dengar, banyak disensasikan, ibu bunuh anak lah, ibu baling anak dan sebagainya, di mana mereka hilang sebenarnya kewarasan at that point of time. Losing touch with reality because of their condition that is not being treated and supported pada waktu itu, dan kita memberikan hukuman, judgement dan sebagainya. Dan kita pernah mendengar daripada kumpulan ini di mana they don't know, during that point of time what happened. There is no parent, there is no mother that wants to hurt their child, but who is helping, who is providing that postvention to them currently? Tak ada sebenarnya di Malaysia. Jadi sebab tu kita kena war-warkan dan kita kena cuba membantu, especially when they are in, held up in forensic wards kan, ataupun held up in katalah mereka yang cuba attempt di Malaysia masih dianggap sebagai criminal and they are being put in prisons dan sebagainya, dan apakah interventions yang diberikan. Jadi this is why this discussion is important, so that we can perluaskan perbincangan ini to spur actions at all levels. So this is what we're hoping, insyaAllah. So thank you very much Kak Ngah. Okay, Abdullah, nak ke Abdullah pula insyaAllah. Okay, Abdullah, a lot of times, what I personally would like to see, especially being portrayed, in movies and dramas, kita tengok biasanya a lot of inaccurate portrayals of people battling this, of people that go through, mental health struggles dan sebagainya. Jadi kita nak memahami, Abdullah di sini, apakah, the thought process, kerana biasanya orang yang dah decide untuk mengakhiri kehidupan ni, the thought process is closed because mereka sudah tidak lagi nampak jalan keluar, tidak ada solutions given to the challenges and problems that they're going through. We as the society ataupun community shut them, tidak membantu jadi Abdullah, if you can share with us, or if you can describe sebenarnya supaya kita boleh lebih memahami dan kita boleh membantu mereka yang bertarung Abdullah dengan suicidal thoughts, ideation or contemplating ni, bagaimana Abdullah? Can you share with us, how does one finally feel like giving up sebenarnya? Maybe your own experience dealing with such situations mungkin.
Okay, mula-mula saya nak disclose dulu. Saya jarang tengok movie-movie pasal suicide. Jadi saya pun tak boleh nak compare.
Betul.
Saya boleh bagi dari segi pengalaman saya lah. Apabila proses kita fikir pasal suicide Macam mula-mula saya nak cerita dulu pasal background saya.
Boleh sikit.
Saya maknanya saya ni student biasa. Saya sekolah menengah di boarding school. SPM dapat straight, and then offered a scholarship. I got 1,500 for every 3 months. I got free condominium to stay and tuition belaka free, and it's sponsored by government. So in other people punya point of view, sebenarnya soalan macam perfect dah. Why do you have to do that, and why are you throwing that away? So because at that moment, like us who have mental illness, like for me, in my experience, I didn't attend class because I was battling with an addiction. So day by day, slowly, I was losing my scholarship. I didn't met the requirement for having full scholarship. So banyaklah proses dalam minda. Contohnya saya fikir pasal berapa parents saya kena bayar balik bila saya tak dapat dah ditarik scholarship. Saya fikir macam mana saya nak kerja dengan keadaan macam ni. Saya fikir juga kos seharian berapa parents saya tanggung. Saya memang kalau dalam bilik seorang-seorang tu kadang-kadang habis 2-3 jam calculation, fikir kehidupan saya ni macam seolah setiap hari parents saya invest RM30, RM20 untuk saya. Jadi kalaulah saya tak ada, boleh parents saya derma kepada Gaza ke, pada Syria ke. So I'm better off not living. Tapi waktu in the process of ideation tu, kita ada sense lagi. Maknanya kita fikir Islam mengharamkan bunuh diri. Benda-benda macam tu. So that's why kita tak buat benda tu. So that's an advantage lah. I think that saved me a lot from certain scenarios. But having those ideation for a long time, when we are triggered by certain scenarios, dia selalu macam jadi autopilot dah.
Betul.
Autopilot. Sampai sekarang macam kalau contoh orang tanya saya during my suicide attempt, like how can you recall that? The only thing that I remember is that I received a text from a friend. Um, they were just encouraging me that do your best in battling suicide. In other punya, point of view, is a positive message. But for me, with my own mindset, with my own thinking, I took it negatively. So I ran out and tried to do it. So what I'm trying to emphasize is yalah, kadang-kadang it starts with suicide ideation.
Yep.
So if we can control that or prevent that, it would make a big change lah for not attempting.
Abdullah, do you mind me asking?
Mhm.
Message yang macam tu kan? You rasa you time tu you triggered dengan dia punya wordings ke atau apa sebenarnya? Can you
Actually, because at that point I did something, like, for me it's terrible. Like, I didn't attempt exam at that time. Everyone went to exam, and I messaged my friend, and I told them that I didn't attend exam. So they told me that it's okay, you have to do better, maybe next time. So
okay.
It's not the wording, it's just that it matched the scenario that I'm already experiencing, so that I think that I'm not doing better enough. So that's how it becomes.
Thank you.
What would be helpful sebenarnya, Abdullah, pada waktu tu? What would have been a helpful text message for you during that time? Sebab kan dah autopilot ideation dah, consistent pada waktu ni. Apa sebenarnya, Abdullah, at that point of time, kalau someone were to come to you that could help you? Because a lot of people that I hear stories yang survive suicide always says it's that one thing. So for you, what is that one thing that somebody could have said in order for you to feel better dalam pada waktu tu lah, Abdullah?
To answer that question, saya sendiri pun tak pasti sebenarnya, sebab because at that point dia dah pelbagai faktor. So maybe apa-apa kita buat pun, so that's why for those who lost their loved ones from this, jangan be guilty, because it comes from like a multitude of factors. Like I had that suicide ideation for already 9 months. So dia dah macam masak dah. So yalah, to actually solve at that problem, tahulah macam mana. What's the right word? Saya pun tak tahu.
Because from what I've read, from what I've listened to stories, ramai yang memberitahu bahawa they only needed a listening ear. So lebih kepada mendengar dan tidak berkata banyak, ya Abdullah?
Yang tu pun saya setuju juga. Banyak mendengar kok. Yang tu bila kita luahkan, dia boleh tenangkan diri ya.
Betul. Okay. Alright, thank you very much, Abdullah. I think it's very helpful, this thought process dengan the insights that you just shared with us. We'll come back to you lepas ni. Banyak nak tanya ni, Abdullah. Ustaz, for my next question, Ustaz, sebenarnya there's two parts of this question. Dan saya pun, I think I've also experienced this before, where adakah Ustaz dibolehkan dalam Islam untuk seseorang hamba meminta Allah SWT mengambil kesakitan ataupun penyakitnya? So that's the first part of the question. Dan keduanya, is it okay for a believer to wish or pray for God to take their life disebabkan oleh tidak tertanggungnya yang kita rasa? Dan saya tahu Ustaz, memang Allah janjikan dia tidak akan memberikan kita lebih daripada apa yang kita boleh tanggung. Tetapi Ustaz, from my own experience, memang pada waktu dan ketika dan saat tu Ustaz, memang kita rasa begitu sebenarnya Ustaz. Jadi mungkin Ustaz boleh bagikan juga sedikit saranan lah kepada yang feeling this way at this point of time, insyaAllah.
Okay, before I answer that question, I would like to comment a little bit on the issue of the state of consciousness or the state of sanity of the person attempting suicide. I do not want the listeners to got me wrongly or to get that statement wrongly, and then taking it lightly.
Yes.
Okay? So I'm gonna do it, and if I do it, that means I'm doing it unconsciously.
Yep.
You see, so saya tak nak kita pergi ke arah situ pula. There is such a thing as irresponsible suicide. Kita kena iktiraf benda ni. Kalau tak, dia takkan jadi dosa.
Betul.
There is such a thing as suicide being committed unjustly. Not because the person is lost his mind ke, unconscious ke tak. Memang dia sedar, dia tahu, he knows the difference between right and wrong, but proceed on to do it. We call this irresponsible. We call this a crime. We cannot. There's no better word to say. That is why the compensation in akhirah is heavy. So when we speak about consciousness and sanity, only the person knows. Kalau awak tahu, awak sedar bahawa awak sedar diri. So never use this excuse. Okay? If you are aware that you are aware, if you are aware that you are in a state of sanity, if you are aware that you are in a state of consciousness, never use that hadith that I have shared just now to justify what you are about to do. Okay, that's a big risk. Itu adalah risiko yang sangat-sangat besar that yang diambil. Okay, with regards to Puan Anita's question, yes, in fact, there's one Sahaba who came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and asked the very same question. Okay, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam responded. He said that لا يتمنين أحدكم الموت لضر نزل به. Say, do not hope for death due to distress or due to a harm that have inflicted you. فإن كان لا بد متمنيا فليقول. But if you are not able to push these ideas away, because the word that Rasulullah SAW say la buddha means you terpaksa. Kalau betul-betul sangat dah terpaksa, Rasulullah SAW say فليقول. Say this. Instead of asking for death, say this, Rasulullah said. What do you say? Allahumma ahyini ma kanatil hayatu khairan li wa tawaffani iza kanatil wafatu khairan. Oh Allah, bless me with life. Yeah? Make me to continue to live if life is better for me. Okay? And take me away, take my life if death is better for me. What a beautiful dua this is. That means Rasulullah acknowledged that we sometimes reach a point of desperation. Okay, but do not ask for that, because if we ask for that, that means we claim to know that that is the best decision that we can make for ourselves. The fact is that we do not know. Let's pass it to the most wise. You choose for me, Allah. You choose the time for me. If death is good for me now, please give me that. But if life is good for me, it's better for me, make me continue to live, Ya Allah. Okay, so because we want to take such a big decision into our own hands, there is a presumption that we know what's best for us. That presumption we have to question. Do we really know what's best for us to take such a step? Okay, or he knows best. He knows best. Allahu A'lam.
Thank you very much, Ustaz. Ni sama juga dengan apabila kita mengatakan Allah ambil balik penyakit ni kan, Ustaz.
Yes,
sebab pada waktu dan ketika itu kita tidak memahami hikmah dia sebenarnya, Ustaz. Kita tak nampak lagi pada waktu tu. That is the thing, because saya sendiri pun pada waktu tu, sebab kita tak nampak, because when we don't see it from the other side, that is why we feel kita tak tertanggung sebenarnya, Ustaz. Dan mungkin juga kerana ramai yang tak ada sistem sokongan yang kuat, mungkin tak mendapatkan rawatan dan sebagainya. So there is hope, dan kita semua tahu Allah dah janji untuk segala penyakit ada ubatnya kecuali mati, dan Allah tidak membebani kita lebih daripada apa yang kita boleh tanggung, insyaAllah. Jadi kita terus, Ustaz seperti Ustaz selalu katakan, terus teguh prasangka baik dengan Allah, insyaAllah.
A little bit, sis. I've met people who I've heard conversations among families when they heard their daughter or their son saying, "I dah tak nak hidup lagi." You know, I dah tak nak hidup lagi. That statement, "I dah tak nak hidup lagi" ni, jangan kita cepat-cepat jam yang dia ni nak suicide ke atau dia ni dah putus harap dengan Tuhan. Tak semestinya.
Betul.
Maybe the question is exactly what the sahabat is asking. I dah tak boleh tahan dengan kehidupan, kan? So the parents ke, the families ke, should come and say, if you really dah tak boleh tolak that ideation yang dalam minda, you dah tak nak hidup lagi, make this dua. Make this dua. Jangan terus kita tuduh dia tak ada iman, jangan kita terus tuduh dia nak melanggar perintah Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, because that will make things worse. Dia akan simpan dan dia tak akan express lagi. Kita ingat masalah dah selesai, rupanya tidak. Dia simpan dan hanya tunggu like a ticking bomb sahaja.
Betul. Alright, thank you very much, Ustaz. Okay, Kak Ngah, being in this pandemic hit, kan, there's great concern, fear of getting infected, infecting others, and many around the world have, rushed into creating vaccines in hope to contain this virus, especially, horrifying deaths and then overloading of, ICU beds in hospitals. And yet, when we find groups of people who battle ataupun contemplate, kan, suicide, macam Abdullah katakan tadi, suicidal ideation yang konsisten ya selama 9 bulan dan sebagainya. The thought process seperti yang kita tahu is closed during the time, and others not realizing this, tetapi pada masa yang sama Kak Ngah cakap tadi, being a psychology student yourself, you actually saw the signs, tapi we always think to ourselves that it can never be our family. I was the same as well when my sister was battling it. I didn't take her seriously. Sebab masa tu I thought it was just a figure of speech. Mungkin dia marah ke, dia berkata begitu. Tapi who would say such a thing? Tak ada orang yang bangun pagi tiba-tiba berkata begitu kan Kak Ngah. Jadi, yes. And so, I have to ask your permission for you to, to think back sebenarnya, in hopes that it can help other people yang ada keluarga, rakan-rakan yang, are reaching out for this and maybe they think it's not serious, yeah? What was that last push you rasa from your experience with your loved one, that now thinking back, reflecting the obvious telltale signs, mungkin Kak Ngah, you can share with us in hopes to help other people that are struggling.
There's a saying, I would like to start this with an English saying that goes, the straw that broke the camel's back. Have you heard of this? Yeah, kan kita selalu dengar. Maknanya about regarding the saying, the English saying, it says that as we know, camel backs are very, very strong, right? So one straw, one piece of straw tu tak mungkin boleh mematahkan belakang unta yang kuat ni lah. Tapi it's not one, I believe, when that push factor is not just one factor. Sebab tu kita tak boleh, we know now research have done, a lot of studies have done on suicide and all that. We know now that suicide is not one factor. It's a complex issue and it's multifactorial. Kita tak boleh kata simply say, especially yang bahaya dalam newspaper or headlines yang kata, bunuh diri sebab gagal SPM ataupun bunuh diri sebab
bagi main video,
all these things, sebab bapa ambil phone, this kind of thing. You cannot just simplify that because it's not that one straw that broke the camel's back. It's a series or prolonged macam Abdullah share tadi, 9 months of struggling with suicidal ideation. I wouldn't have understood what it's like if had I not been diagnosed, had I not struggled with my own suicidal thoughts. I was not suicidal in action, in behavior, but I was flooding, it was flooded with suicidal thoughts. The sense of hopelessness, the sense of, tak boleh buat apa, rasa macam jam, rasa macam, and had I not dealt with, all those things, I wouldn't have understood what happened to my loved one, so to speak, because I feel like kita senang cakap kalau benda tu tak berlaku, orang Melayu kata apa, tak kena batang hidung sendiri kan. Kalau tak kena batang hidung sendiri, kita boleh cakap it's easy to dismiss, it's easy to say oh alah mengada je, or seeking attention je tu, dia seeking attention. And I must say I am guilty of that. I was one of them who thought that way, you know. And like I said, here I am. I want people to know that this is a serious matter, you know. Struggling with mental health issues is about, it can be about life and death, you know, and issues of life and death, and it should be taken seriously. Dia bukan perkara yang patut dipelekehkan, diketawakan. Dia benar, dia sangat benar. Mental illness is so real. And I feel balik pada soalan Puan Anita tadi berkenaan dengan, you know, apa yang membuatkan, there are many, if we Google, there are many risk factors for suicide. Tapi specifically, I think through my own experience and the experiences of the suicide loss survivors in the support group, it's obvious. One of the very obvious thing was the struggling. Ada juga kita dengar yang kata sebenarnya tak nampak pun, tak nampak pun yang orang tu struggle. Tapi for me personally, there was nampak sangat, you know, the struggling dari segi behavior, there was anger issues, there was, you know, tapi again it was dismissed as alah, you know, attitude, alah, moody, you know, things like that. But at the end of the day, sometimes when, okay, sebab tu even kalau dalam kesihatan pun, doctors are not supposed to treat their own family members or loved ones kan, sebab dia ada etika dia. Sebab sometimes we tend to overlook yang things get clouded, you know, things get messy. So I feel like kalau the message of that, kalau you know someone who is struggling, you see that a person is struggling, or ni tak kena the behavior changes, the sleep pattern, you know, there's so many things that we can Google, you know, find out, you know, what are the criteria for struggling with mental health. Then it's better for us to, kalau kita mampu, kita duduklah bercakap dengan this person, you know, talk to them, you know, be concerned. But kalau kita tak ada kemampuan tu, supportlah dia untuk supportlah dia untuk seek help. You know, kalau if going to a doctor is too much for someone, you know, or the family member, katalah tak pernah terdedah, not exposed to issue kesihatan mental, and one feel overwhelmed, one feel intimidated, it's okay, you know, there are NGOs, there are many NGOs now. MIASA is one of them that I really applaud, and, you know, pergi attend circle time, be surrounded and listen to other people, you know, their struggles. Because if we only listen, or if we only worry about our image or our self or our, you know, then we tend to overlook all other things, you know, the things that people are struggling. And it's also important kalau to know that, you know, biologically, you know, kalau seseorang itu struggling dengan mental health-nya, you know, kita dah nampak dia macam ni, tak okay, tu tak okay. And then also the telltale is also the, you know, psychiatric disorder in the family. If there is history of psychiatric disorder in the family, I feel like people must take this seriously. You know, dia kalau if physical illness is not, if getting treatment for our physical illness, right, going to a doctor is not something to be ashamed of. So is mental illness, also is struggling with mental health, you know. There's no shame in it to go seek for help. And of course, I had to learn it the hard way. And I really wish that, you know, people don't have to go through this and learn from me. We have to acknowledge, we have to stop dismissing people who are struggling, you know, and acknowledge that, you know, we don't know what kind of burden they're carrying. We cannot judge, we cannot assume that alah ni mengada-ngada ke apa, because really we don't know the weight of the straw. Selama-lama ini, the straw that they have been carrying tu, straw mana yang akan patahkan that you know, the backbone. So yeah, it's It's
and
crucial.
threshold orang pun berbeza kan Kak Ngah. Mungkin you and I go through the same thing, tetapi disebabkan oleh the threshold, disebabkan oleh pelbagai faktor menyebabkan outcome pun berbeza-beza sebenarnya. So I think it's very important as well in this journey not to be benchmarking ourselves against anyone, or our loved ones against anyone, sebab we may think it can't be our loved ones, but what if it is,
Yeah.
Dan apatah lagi kita sendiri, tak ada orang yang nak battle suicidal thoughts and ideation.
Betul.
So bayangkan kalau kita sendiri yang melaluinya, betapa terkejutnya kita sendiri, like how, and that's a grief in itself. It was, for me dulu pun sama juga, I never thought I would be the person macam Abdullah cerita tadi, kalau tengok package tu cantik dah.
Yeah.
Tetapi itulah dia kan, kun fayakun ya. Dan alhamdulillah, there's a lot of lessons, a lot of learnings, and actually transforming this experience into something that is beneficial for others. Alhamdulillah. May Allah accept it. Thank you very much Kak Ngah.
Thank you. And also Puan Anita, it's also we have to, kita yang struggling dengan mental health kita sendiri ni, memang betul kadang-kadang supported is not readily available. We have to admit that ni semua adalah sebahagian daripada ujian, package ujiannya, and it's okay kalau at that point of time mak kita, ayah kita, or whoever around us tak support kita sebab dia tak faham, and we cannot expect them to understand, because sampai kita melaluinya baru kita tahu kan. Sama juga. So I think again sekarang ni information di hujung jari, kita Google lah, carilah support, surround ourselves with orang-orang yang sama dengan kita, sama perjuangan kita, sama struggle dengan kita, and I think slowly as when we surround ourselves with these people kan, orang-orang yang maknanya berjuang sama dengan kita akan jadi lebih kuat. Dan bila kita kuat, it's easier. Bila kita ada ilmu, kita jadi kuat, kita lebih faham, it's easier for us to convince the people around us. Walau memang mula-mula tu macam kita rasa macam kita lonely sangat, orang tak faham kita, tapi as kita bina diri kita as we go along, there's such thing as post-traumatic growth. Maknanya sesuatu berlaku tu, kalau kita transform it, kalau kita ubahnya menjadi from pain to purpose, you channel it, boleh, it's possible, and a lot of people have done that. So kita take that and do that, and triggers kita berbeza-beza. Your triggers and my triggers are different. So first kita kenali, I think kuatkan diri, kenali diri kita sendiri dulu, minta Allah tolong banyak-banyak, because sometimes there are times when you feel like people cannot help, or people don't understand. Tapi mesti I feel it's important to dia bermula dengan diri kita sendiri dulu. Maknanya kita we want to help ourselves.
Betul. I think it's a very important point. I mean, as much as it is a journey for us, it's also a journey for our loved ones, kan? And also, I think a very important point also you said, Ustaz selalu ulang benda ni, Allah will not change the condition of a person until we change what is in ourselves, kan? So banyak sebenarnya lessons that we can take from this experience, kan Kak Ngah? And I think I've said this so many times that for me, the greatest gift yang Allah SWT berikan Kak Ngah kepada saya adalah the gift of empathy, sesuatu yang saya tak ada sebelum ni, before I was inflicted with this condition. So very, very thankful. Alhamdulillah. Thank you. Ustaz, sorry, silakan Ustaz.
Kak Ngah, may Allah bless your effort. Semoga Allah berkati, rahmati perjuangan ni. Dan Puan Anita juga menubuhkan MIASA, dan Abdullah juga atas perjuangan ini. Kak Ngah, I want to suggest one thing. Whatever you do with your awas, you niatkan pahalanya ini beri juga kepada adik, ataupun abang adik, your brother, dan doakan supaya pahala itu pergi kepada dia. Rasulullah SAW kata, apabila anak Adam meninggal, terputus amalan dia kecuali 3. Betul? Sedekah jariah, ilmu yang yuntafa'u bih, ilmu yang mana kita manfaat daripada dia, dan anak yang soleh yang mendoakan. Mungkin dengan adik, poin nombor 2 tu yang penting. Ilmu yang yuntafa'u bih. Okay. Kak Ngah niatkan, Kak Ngah tahu pasal suicide ni, melalui apa yang telah terjadi. That means it's connected to him. You learn something from this. This is ilmu yang bermanfaat. That's one point. Another point is Kak Ngah cuba ingat-ingat balik apa kebaikan-kebaikan, ilmu-ilmu yang adik Kak Ngah pernah ajar Kak Ngah. Apa sih, tak kira anything. Dia ajar memasak ke, dia ajar macam mana nak pasang wire ke, dia ajar macam mana, tak kisah. Buat benda tu. Buat benda tu, jadikan rutin, jadikan habit. Supaya pahala tu kita dapat gandakan untuk dia. Apa saja ilmu yang seseorang manusia beri pada manusia lain yang dimanfaatkan, dia akan dapat dekat akhirat. Ya, Kak Ngah ingat apa ilmu yang dia pernah ajar Kak Ngah buat benda tu, buat banyak kali. InsyaAllah pahala tu akan sampai. Ni strategi nak sampaikan pahala lah.
InsyaAllah. Terima kasih Ustaz.
I think if I may add, I think one thing yang bila Ustaz cakap apa yang dia ajar, not necessarily directly ajar, but inspired me was poem. I think I do a lot of poem writing now, and because I think he used that to
coping,
express, coping mechanism, express his feelings. So and now I use poetry as a means of expression and healing in my support group. So mudah-mudahan Ustaz doakan.
I believe sampai insyaAllah. Kita niatkan dalam
Amin.
InsyaAllah. Amin.
That's so amazing lah Kak Ngah sebenarnya, sebab I, for the longest time, saya, mungkin Ustaz tahu, I'm not a artistic individu, tetapi one of the peers, she wrote 2 poetry books, confessional poetry. I only read the first 2 pages of her confessional poetry book and I cried. Sebab dia punya impact tu Ustaz, bila kita baca tu, I've never liked poetry, benda-benda of that genre, but I love reading books, I'm a bookworm. Tapi saya baca disebabkan oleh dia menulisnya. Kak Ngah, I mean, this is amazing. Confessional poetry is, I think everyone should read because it really touches you to the core. Dan mungkin sebab dia peer, I'm a peer, I can relate. Tetapi saya rasa as a normal person pun Ustaz, I think there's a lot of learnings, sebab the way you express it via poetry is dia kita dapat rasa sebenarnya, alhamdulillah, walaupun dia pendek tapi dia punya impact tu berbeza sebenarnya. Tak payah dengar lagu, tak payah watch a movie. Just from that 1 minute punya poetry that I read was very impactful. So I'm looking forward Kak Ngah lepas ni to hear your poem ataupun poetry dekat hujung InsyaAllah. Okay. Thank you very much Ustaz. Okay Abdullah, coming back to you. Sekejap je dah 11.20 dah kita ni. Baru round kedua sebenarnya. Abdullah, insyaAllah kalau saya boleh tanya, in your struggles ni, in your journey Abdullah, what was the turning point that encouraged you to seek for help sebenarnya, with everything that you were battling, you said, your addiction dan sebagainya, what was that one thing that made you, I know I need help and, I'm seeking for that help?
Okay, untuk menjawab soalan tu, it took me a long time to seek help. I actually have this addiction or problem since I was a child, sejak umur 5 tahun lagi. But the turning point came when I started studying at university. Masalah tu dia jadi macam jadi semakin besar, semakin teruk, multiplied, and to the point of destroying my study life. So I was actually in denial for a long time. Tak rasa macam saya ni ada masalah. Mungkinlah saya ni kurang usaha. So just change that part. Tapi bila dah semakin lama kita try ubah ni ubah tu, dah tak menghasilkan results lah. So alhamdulillah my family memang supportive. And my elder sister is the first one to detect my change of behavior and attitude. So it was 2018, I think. My elder sister introduced me to MIASA. She knew about it through Instagram. So I met Puan Anita. I think it was 2018. And then at that time also I tahu pasal circle time. So that was the most interesting program for me lah. So bila attend benda tu, dia memang membuka mata lah. When we meet people that are going similar or different problems, kita tak rasa lonely macam dulu lah. So dengan sendiri bila kita jumpa peers-peers buat lain, kita tanya pergi follow up kat mana, macam mana dari segi medicine ke apa, kita pun dapat connection dengan ni. So selepas MIASA saya jumpa dengan Dr. Hazli, and then after Dr. Hazli dengan HUKM, so follow up dengan specialist sana, Dr. Tuti apa. So that actually became a turning point for me lah. For the past 3 years, I'm always getting better.
Okay. Alhamdulillah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ustaz dah sini, Ustaz nak komen?
I'm happy to hear that.
Yes. Kan? It's very inspiring kan Ustaz. Always bila akak selalu kalau dengar the recovery stories of peers, memang is so inspirational and extraordinary because I know how challenging it is. So thank you very much Abdullah. I'm so happy that you are going through this recovery process. Tapi sebenarnya Abdullah, every single time in circle time when you share, there's always so much learnings from your story. I think it's also because of the background. I know you haven't shared your family punya background, but I think that it's so inspiring, the support that your family has provided, all in all sebenarnya. I think that it is healing the whole family together tau Ustaz. Ini yang cantiknya pasal proses penyembuhan Abdullah ni, and it also proves that the closest people to you must help, and if they help, it's evident that the recovery process is very effective. Alhamdulillah. Kak Ngah ada nak komen Kak Ngah?
Tak ada, seronok dengan Abdullah recovery-nya.
Alhamdulillah.
It's a process indeed kan. Cuma hari ni kalau kita rasa kita okay, maknanya kalau besok kita ada rasa down sikit tu,
It's okay.
Ya, it's okay. Yakinlah yang akan dia bersilih ganti kan insya-Allah. Mudah-mudahan.
Itulah ujiannya di dunia ni, insya-Allah. Okay, terima kasih Kak Ngah Ustaz. Nak cakap benda ni banyak kali akak sini dengar pun boring sebenarnya pasal stigma ni. Tapi this is very much what we need to be addressing, and I think it continues to be an uphill battle. Tetapi untuk soalan ni Ustaz, saya nak minta untuk Ustaz kongsikan sedikit kata-kata semangat sebenarnya buat mereka yang that are battling this. Dan juga second part of this question is kepada masyarakat secara umumnya Ustaz, juga buat mereka panduan mungkin untuk membantu, and also to encourage others to help ni Ustaz. Tidak ramai sebenarnya yang membantu, jadi bagaimana kita nak encourage people to help and to understand that they have a role to play, and if they play it well, people can be saved, Ustaz.
Baik, Bismillah. As Asians, we can say we are still holding strongly to our religions. This is a very positive source of help sebenarnya kepada kita punya mental illness, psychological distress dan sebagainya. When there is still belief in God, understanding that life has a purpose, knowing why we are here, where we are going, how to be good, how to do good, the best way to maximize your well-being. That's a great blessing, you see. So as Asians, as Muslims, as Christians, we have to come back to this source of psychological strength sebenarnya. Here, the best psychological support, I believe, comes from proper understanding of religion. Syarat dia kena proper understanding. Salah faham, dia boleh jadi source of mental illness juga. So it's quite a delicate matter. Kalau faham dengan betul, if you understood correctly, ask any psychologist, they will ascertain this fact. They will agree with me. They will acknowledge this fact that positive understanding of religion plays a big part in healing. Betul I believe Kak Nga setuju, Abdullah setuju, dan Puan Anita pun pernah menyatakan banyak kali pada saya juga. Of course, we cannot negate the possibility that some psychological distress can inflict a person due to some crisis in faith. We cannot deny that fact. Even though I'm not saying that everyone who is inflicted with psychological problem ada masalah iman. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, it is possible, boleh. And I've heard many people who have became better, even recovered, say to me directly, Ustaz, yes, now after thinking about it, I realize, I do not know Allah. I do not know the purpose of my life. What am I doing in my life? I was materialistic before. So after I've changed my life, coming back closer to God, understanding the purpose of life, doing more good, reconnect back with my family, with my friends, with society, I realized that positive changes took place in my life. So iman, faith that is grounded in knowledge. Okay, that is our greatest hope sebenarnya. Medication does help, yes, but internally yang akan boleh bantu kita adalah proper belief system. Okay, if we still have this belief that there is no hope, no one can help me, how can someone come out from their distress? It is impossible. There needs to be trust that God is there, God is compassionate, and there are good people around. There are good human beings still. Never say, I don't trust anyone. Okay? That is a crisis of faith. That kind of statement shows a crisis of faith. We have to acknowledge. Okay? So kita kena buang semua tu. Say to ourselves, there are good human beings out there. Mungkin aku yang belum jumpa. There are remedies out there yang aku belum jumpa lagi. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah have never sent the sickness except He sent with it its remedy.
Yes.
Okay? This is a very, very positive note from Rasulullah, including AIDS, including COVID-19.
Betul.
Ada obat, kita belum jumpa. Okay? Bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, semua ada obat. Mungkin kita yang belum jumpa. Dan ada orang pun yang telah baik dan sebagainya. So that is my short response, because dah 11:30. I would want to let the others to ada break, insyaAllah.
All right, thank you very much, Ustaz. Yeah, apa ni Kak Ngah? So we know that now you have founded Awas. Maybe if you can share with everyone a little bit on what this social platform is all about, and also maybe a little bit about your own experience, this 10 years, on how you have channeled this pain, how it has translated into your growth. Tapi how does these methods help to elevate your pain, and maybe some of the other things that helped you as well, with the guilt and the shame and everything else, because I know it takes a lot of courage to own up about this. Having a mental health condition, nak own up pun susah. So bayangkan losing a person by a suicide, so much stigma attached and shame attached to it. Kalau Kak Ngah boleh kongsi sikit, insyaAllah.
I would like to tap on echo apa Ustaz cakap tentang spiritual well-being ni kan.
Yep.
I was going around and around, circle and circle, in a lot of pain, in a lot, tremendous pain. But I feel one of my moments of breakthrough is when I looked back into, sebenarnya kita belajar dululah, kita agama, kita tahu as a Muslim, kita tahu ada 6 rukun iman kan, and I feel like benda yang paling susah, I feel lah as a survivor, is percayakan qada dan qadar, because that was I think that was I had to revisit the whole percayakan qada dan qadar tu, because I feel like it was a very confusing time, tapi at the same time kita perlu rawat dan pujuk diri. There are many instances. I'm sorry, this might touch some sensitivity, but I feel like kalau Allah tak mengizinkannya, I feel like dia tidak berlaku mungkin, wallahu alam. But jadi berbalik kepada berpegang pada qada dan qadar tu, I think is so crucial, because kalau we lose that, then maknanya semua kepercayaan kita, apa yang berlaku tu semuanya tak ada bersandarkan apa-apa, maknanya it's just habislah, you know, it's too painful and too much to bear.
Nothing to hold you can.
Right. Regarding AWAS, Puan Anita, there are, you know, 3 main objectives of AWAS. It's to create suicide awareness. It's not an NGO. I must highlight that it's not an NGO. It's not a suicide hotline crisis call. So I worry honestly because we don't have the capacity. Yes, we have a little group of people who are supporting this cause, who are in this, but you know, it's not an organization. We don't have people who are going to answer calls and in 24-hour phone calls or for people who are in crisis. So I have to make that disclaimer. It's a support group. First, it's to create awareness supaya, because I feel mental health and suicide awareness ni perlu dibincangkan, perlu diketengahkan, perlu dicakapkan, you know, normalize. We need to normalize these conversations, discourse, you know, perbualan, you know. Macam Ustaz kata, Malaysia kita belum matang. We have not arrived to the, you know, to maturity level of where we can talk or discuss or look at it as something yang perlu dibincangkan seriously. You know, benda ni selalunya kalau tentu isu tentang isu kesihatan mental adalah benda yang dipelikirkan, benda dilawakkan, benda diperkotak-katikkan. Like I said, bila belum kena diri sendiri, belum kena batang hidung sendiri, kita tak tahu, you know. But perlu ke, soalannya perlu ke tunggu sampai benda tu kena kat batang hidung kita baru kita nak ada empathy, you know. And the big labels, I feel, with regards to people who have died by suicide ni adalah selfish, you know. Orang yang when a person lose someone to suicide, the first thing yang they struggle is this person is so selfish that they took their life, that now the pain is spread, you know, other people is carrying the burden of the pain, you know.
It's passed to you pula kan.
It's passed on to you, you know. I feel at first I was also guilty of that. At first, I thought that way too. I felt that way too. But it's important for people to know and again realize that ini kita bercakap pasal mental illness ya. Ustaz, I understand Ustaz pun kata tadi tak semua yang bunuh diri tu mentally ill. Tapi from the angle of mental health struggles and mental illness, I believe you know, my loved one was not treated and you know, didn't get help, the help that he needed. But in the case of selfishness ni, macam kita tak akan kata orang yang sakit cancer lah, senang cerita. Kita tak akan kata pada orang yang sakit cancer dia suffer. Katalah orang nak sebelum dia meninggal cancer tu, dia sakit keluar masuk hospital 2 tahun. You know, I have also lost a loved one to cancer. You know, 9 bulan, 10 bulan dalam hospital, keluar masuk, you know. But we don't say selfishnya dia ni asyik nak masuk hospital je, asyik nak tengok dia, you know, sakit. Satu. Kedua, lepas dia meninggal, kita tak kata orang yang cancer tu selfishnya dia sebab sakit tu dia mati. We don't say these things. Give ataupun dia give up. Yeah, exactly. So sama juga, I think we should reframe our lens and, you know, mindset yang orang-orang yang struggle dengan mental illness atau orang-orang yang suicidal ni, dia tidak selfish, because when you're sick, when you're so ill, tak ada orang yang nak, you know, nak end their life lah. You know, tak ada. Exactly. Tak ada saja-saja suka-suka je. You have to be in a position of, like, you know, darkness and pain and hopelessness to be that way. And it's not easy pun to fall into that. You have to have, you know, certain criteria, not criteria, you know, ada risk dia, you know, risk factors dia yang you know, yang kena dengan kita baru, you know, we become that way.
Faktor yang mencukupi kan?
Yeah, faktor yang mencukupi. Sorry. So going back to people who are suicidal, they are not. Please know that they are not attention seeking. When you say they are attention seeking, you risk of losing them to suicide. And ketahuilah, and they are actually, when they are being suicidal or they are showing behavior of suicidal, I believe it's about attention seeking. They are really needing help. You know, it's a cry for help, and that's where also AWAS is the role of AWAS is also to support mental health and suicide prevention work. We don't do macam like I said, crisis calls, we don't. Tapi there are days, pernah berlaku, tapi cuma ni tengah zaman COVID. There was one time somebody contacted us through Awas and said, dia di Johor by the way, they said they are having tengah hallucination, tengah dengar banyak suara and all that, but dia dah pergi klinik kesihatan, dia nak pergi dapatkan help to seek a psychiatrist because dia tak boleh terus pergi psychiatrist, dia kena go through medical doctor and then being referred. Tapi doktor yang medical officer tu tak nak help her to go, So I said it's okay. Masa tu I was in Johor. I said it's okay. I took her to the hospital. Kebetulan I have friends psychiatrist di hospital Permai, and I said tolong tengokkan. And alhamdulillah, this kind of support work that we want to do and we are doing. Cuma our capacity is small, but we are trying. So the more support that we gain, inshallah, the more people realize how important this work is. I feel there is more need for this. And also Awas provide postvention work, which is very, very important. Postvention work is not something yang kita, like Puan Anita cakap tadi lah, a lot of people talk about suicide awareness, a lot of people talk about suicide prevention, tapi suicide postvention ni is in itself suicide prevention, because kalau kita tak jaga orang-orang yang dah lost loved one to suicide ni, sebenarnya banyak. Jangan kata tak ada, kita tahu boleh kata every now and then, every 2 weeks, every other day, even semalam as we speak, semalam pun ada orang died by suicide in the news, and my radar is like constantly looking for not for this news, but looking to support orang-orang yang dah kehilangan ni. Yeah, because it's so lonely and it's so painful and it's so shameful and guilty that they are so scared to look for help. And I want to assure them, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be in pain. Tapi ketahuilah, there are people who care. There are people who want to support you. And Awas is definitely one of them, inshallah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kak Ngah. May Allah bless you for your work. Ya Ustaz, silakan.
I need to excuse myself because I have some work to do. So I'll see all of you again. May Allah bless all the people. See you.
Boleh. Kita nak close lagi. Terima kasih Ustaz. May Allah reward you. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you very much, Kak Ngah, for sharing that. I think that kita pun masa PKP pertama, during the first MCO, we had a dad who came to MIASA and bagi tahu yang he just lost his son to suicide. And there were a couple of things that he shared, which I'm not able to disclose, but while his dad was sharing the story, one of the things that the dad said that really macam I felt so sedih, other than the fact that he lost his son and he didn't realize it, etc., was dia bagi tahu dalam keadaan yang sangat sedih, yang I feel so sad. Dia kata that I only found out about MIASA after the death of my son. And this is why, Kak Ngah, the work that all the good work that everyone is doing in the community, on the ground, yang orang boleh walk in, yang orang boleh just pick up the phone to call, yang people can instantly relate. These are so important channels for people that are struggling sebenarnya. Sebab tu all this information that we have, kita kena tolong and wawarkan sejauh-jauhnya sebenarnya. There are still people that have never heard about befrienders. Ada lagi orang yang tak kenal, mental health NGOs. Ada lagi orang yang tidak tahu kat mana nak mencari bantuan. So, every time when we talk about this, we must end with where can people seek for help. This is so important. So that is why marketing, to market your own, tak kisah social media platform ke, your NGO ke, governmental agencies, hospitals ni so important sebenarnya. Kan kita nak naikkan diri kita, about this work, but this is good work. But people need to know so that when they are struggling, they know that there is a place for them.
Yeah.
Especially, betul-betul.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. It's also I think everyone has a role to play. Everyone.
Yes, everyone. Betul.
Especially orang-orang yang mental health warriors ni, kita among us ni, we have a more role to play because kita dah melaluinya, kita tahu. Betul. Of course tak semua orang ada kemampuan dan kekuatan untuk buat. Tapi I applaud people yang yang share their struggles. I mean not in a positive light lah I'm talking about. Because bila orang-orang individu tell their struggles kan, and then people jadi berani nak approach them and say, you know, saya ada masalah ni, mana ya saya nak dapatkan rawatan. I think it's so important that people know that it's okay to reach out for help, it's okay to talk about it, you know, in a positive. Benda ni boleh disalahgunakan juga kan, but you know, it's important that you know, kita sama-sama semua kena be aware, you know, macam mana kita bercakap pasal COVID, hari-hari report pasal COVID tu kan. I think kalau kita ada the same awareness about mental health, it will be very, very good for everyone, insyaAllah kan. Semua orang ada mental health.
Betul, but we know now it's actually possible. It is just what we prioritize sebenarnya. So kita tengok kalau kita nak prioritize COVID, kita boleh. So hopefully this doesn't become a parallel pandemic kan. Di mana, you know, when this pandemic of COVID-19 happens, it can lead to a mental health pandemic as well. So hopefully we work, you know, fast enough kan supaya kita dapat membantu, insyaAllah. Thank you very much. Okay, Abdullah, coming to you. Lama nak sampai ke Abdullah ni.
Sorry.
Abdullah, tak apa, kita dah last round. Abdullah nak tanya, in your healing journey, dalam proses penyembuhan Abdullah ni, maybe you can share with the audience what are some effective coping mechanisms yang Abdullah, you know, lakukan sewaktu dalam this suicidal ideation yang 9 bulan ni. What do you think has helped you? Walaupun tadi Abdullah kata, you know, dah masuk kepada autopilot, tapi maybe you can share what are some things that helped you during this process, insyaAllah.
Okay. Satu benda saya nak bagi tahu untuk para survivors ataupun warriors lah mental health ni. Dari segi coping mechanism, salah satu cara pertama yang saya cope-nya adalah try cara kita fikir tu, kalau boleh jangan fikir ke depan sangat. Lepas tu kalau boleh jangan fikir ke belakang sangat. Try to be impulsive, tak apa. Contohnya bila saya bangun daripada tidur, saya terlintas, rasa nak main game. Jadi saya bangun, terus main game. Lepas tu main sejam, rasa macam, saya bangun daripada tidur. That's like I accomplish something tanpa disedari. Lepas tu bila nak pergi beli grocery kena naik kereta, kena pergi jumpa orang ramai. Tapi in my mind I thought about saya nak pergi beli Magnum. That's my priority. So the way I cope the stress of doing errands kita reward diri kita and try to be like act in a impulsive ni mungkin ada negatif dia, tapi kelebihannya adalah we don't overthink lah. Apa-apa kita buat, like if I were to always look at the future, saya akan rasa macam bila nak pergi beli kat Tesco contohnya, orang ramai, orang akan tengok aku berpakaian ataupun saya ni busuk ke, tak mandi ke. So try fikir short term thinking actually helps lah for those overthinking. Rewarding yourself.
Nampak macam lebih kepada apa yang Abdullah cuba katakan, be in the present lah kan Abdullah.
Be in the present, betul-betul. So rewarding yourself with something you like, benda-benda yang positif lah. Don't reward yourself negative like cigarettes or something like that. It helps lah for you to go through daily life.
Okay, alright, thank you very much Abdullah. Okay, Kak Ngah, dengan Abdullah kita dah 11.46 ni. So I think maybe insyaAllah kita boleh buat part 2 later on, for the many questions that we haven't covered. Tetapi untuk pengakhiran ni mungkin sedikit kata-kata lah Kak Ngah, yang Kak Ngah nak mereka yang dekat luar sana tahu, mungkin tak kira lah kepada the society in general, ataupun kepada mereka yang the suicide loss survivors, ataupun kepada mereka yang bertarung dengan penyakit mental dan juga suicidal thoughts and ideation ni. Mungkin silakan Kak Ngah.
I think first I would like to convey this to the people who are struggling, bertarung dengan mental health, isu kesihatan mental dan suicidal thoughts ni. please know, ketika kita tengah acute sangat-sangat, kita bukan sentiasa begitu, tapi bila kita tengah acute dan kita tak ada autopilot tadilah macam perkataan tu kan, tak ada yang kita fikir hanya itu je, bukan kita nak benda tu, bukan boleh dikontrol kan,
intrusive
ketika
kan.
kita bila kita tengah acute sangat-sangat tu, stop. I want to convey to remind people to stop and breathe. Your words, I want to echo Kevin Hines, your words does not have to become your action.
Yes.
Walaupun kita sarat sangat dengan pemikiran-pemikiran yang menghantui kita ni, yang membelenggu kita ni, impulsif yang macam Abdullah cakap tadi tu mungkin okay dari sudut tu, tapi impulsif yang sini sangat membahaya because dia soal hidup dan mati. Jadi when you have these thoughts, intrusive thoughts, suicidal thoughts, you please know that your thoughts do not have to become an action. Stop and bernafas, try to distract yourself, and or reach out for help, tell someone you need to speak about it kan, jangan biar benda ni berhurung. I think number one. And number two, for people who have lost tak kira lah, anyone, colleague, friends, loved ones, to suicide, please know that it is a very you are in a very delicate situation. It doesn't matter how long time or recent the incident happened, but if you need help, if you need support, the support is out there. Reach out. Ini bukan perkara main-main. It's a serious thing, and please don't listen to all the negative things that people say. Don't be shamed by it. There's nothing shameful in being human. There's nothing shameful in struggling. Kita semua manusia. Kita semua ada hari kita lemah ataupun sedih, but it's okay. It's okay to reach out for help. It's okay to find help, and malah all the pain tu insyaAllah boleh diubah, boleh ditukar kepada sesuatu yang lebih baik untuk orang lain, mudah-mudahan.
InsyaAllah. Thank you very much Kak Ngah for all your insights, for all the sharing. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you, and may Allah make us amongst those that benefit others, providing beneficial knowledge, and also bless the work that we do, insyaAllah. Amin. Abdullah, mungkin ada kata-kata terakhir Abdullah, buat yang mendengar, buat yang menonton Facebook live kita hari ini, insyaAllah.
Okay, saya ada dua opinion ataupun tips untuk para yang tengah struggle apa. Nombor satunya, kalau kita like for those who are at the lowest point, my tips for you to avoid getting triggered is, nombor satu, kalau boleh stop dengan social media. Sebab when social media, kita akan tengok Facebook ataupun Instagram kawan-kawan, those can trigger you like why I can't be them, ataupun dia they do better than us. Jadi kalau boleh filter social media at least. Contohnya kalau ada friends that are toxic, either positive or negative toxic, filter mungkin ambil page-page yang bagus-bagus macam MIASA, macam Awas. So that's my first tips lah. The second thing that I want to say is that sebenarnya living is actually an effort. Sebenarnya untuk kita yang mengalami benda ni, hidup ni susah sebenarnya. For some people, kalau orang lain memang hidup ni mudah, dia boleh bangun pagi, dia boleh makan apa, tapi untuk kita susah. So the fact that you are able to live adalah satu effort. Mana dengan kita boleh bangun, dengan walaupun kita tak makan 3-4 hari, tapi lalas kita makan, baguslah. Itu satu effort. Like I have a friend that I met at Secretariat Ward. Dia dia duduk dalam bilik selama sebulan tak keluar. Mak dia akan bagi makanan kat bawah pintu. So macam mana dia boleh hidup dalam masa sebulan tu? Memang saya kagum sebab yalah, kalau kita bayangkan kita sendiri macam mana kalau terperangkap dalam bilik sebulan. So I was proud of him because he didn't end his life. So living is an effort. Don't be ashamed of you are not being productive enough, because the fact that you are living is also a productive effort. Okay, that's all.
Thank you very much, Abdullah. I think, you know, what you're trying to convey here is the struggle is real. You know, the pain is very real, Abdullah. And I think that I've said it a couple of times as well, di mana kalau kita tidak melaluinya, untuk kita bangun pagi, pergi kerja, nak sebelum pergi kerja pilih nak pakai baju apa, you know, these are things that we take for granted. Tapi people that are struggling nak buat benda tu pun sebenarnya susah dia minta ampun. So I think again we have to come to the realization that mental health condition is a condition, is a disorder. Dia adalah penyakit sebagaimana penyakit fizikal adalah penyakit. Tetapi the message of hope here is that dengan rawatan, you know, dengan bantuan, dengan sokongan, semua orang boleh kembali sembuh and lead productive and healthy and normal lives and enjoy quality of life. Dan ini adalah the message of hope yang kita nak sampaikan kepada semua. And yang paling penting, you know, this topic of suicide is for everyone to know that suicide is preventable, that we all can play a role for a person to choose to live. Dan saya sangat berharap, you know, Kak Nga, Abdullah, you know, from everything that we have shared, moga-moga ia, you know, it is ilmu yang bermanfaat untuk mereka yang mendengar, dan semoga mereka yang berjuang sekarang ini, dan juga buat mereka yang mungkin belum didiagnose, mungkin malu ataupun takut, please know that there is help. Please know that we are here to help, and there is hope, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe you don't see it now, but I promise you, inshallah, that this moment will pass. Okay, so with that, saya nak mengakhiri dengan minta maaf kalau ada tersalah kata, tersilap bahasa. Terima kasih banyak-banyak Kak Ngah, terima kasih banyak-banyak Abdullah. Thank you very much Ustaz Muhammad Nur Durus for always supporting and sharing your insights and knowledge, beneficial knowledge. Dan terima kasih kepada semua, you know, to all the caregivers, kepada semua mental health advocates, kepada semua mental health professionals, everyone in the space that continue to do this work. Thank you very much for your effort. May God reward you abundantly. Saya sudahi dengan wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Thank you very much.
Anita.
Yes, I forgot. One last thing, Kak Ngah akan recite your poem, inshallah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The poem is entitled Sesalan Aku. Do you know what it feels like to lose someone to suicide? Exactly, not a clue, right? Aku sesal dan kesal, maafkan aku bebal. Ada degree psikologi konon, but failed to see you were troubled and so alone. Ku kata kau attention seeking, ku fikir elok saja kau dimarah ditengking. Walhal kau pernah berdiri di hujung situ, aku tetap bebal dengan pendirianku. Memaling muka, mengharap ia berlalu. Mengaku lemah, ku pasti kau tak mahu. The pressure mounted, your mental health deteriorated. You didn't want to be a burden. As a result, we lose you out of a sudden. My assumption was far from right. You took your life that night. No, it was not seeking for attention. It was certainly a grave plight. Charming and loved by many, smart enough to be nominated a valedictorian. You made us all very proud. But what the hell? Boys don't cry. Man up, they say. You suffered in silence, fighting battles and demons we know nothing about. Sekarang aku pula yang menghidap penyakit depresi dan anxiety ini, sugul melampau, jantungku kencang, perut memulas, peluh sebesar ibu jari. Siang dibelenggu hiba tak bertepi, malam diganggu mimpi-mimpi ngeri. Penyiksaan jiwa kau dah lenyap. Kini ku tanggung derita dalam senyap. Aku dah habis esak, aku dah tak larat penat. Aku kian hilang kudrat. Benak fikiranku semakin sarat. God knows I've committed a crime for ignoring all the signs. Forever I will be locked up behind those invisible bars of guilt. Aku bersalah, sangkaanku kau hanya tagihkan perhatian. Aku bersalah kerana tak sedar engkau dalam kemurungan. Kekuburkan di bawah penyesalan ini, deritaku tukar sumpah dan janji, pemangkin pengajaran dan pendidikan, agar kesihatan mental tidak lagi dipandang ringan. Ku meniti pusara sepi, kasih dan ingatan segar tak henti, mencari maksud dan juga erti. Keyakinanku penuh tiap ajal di tanganmu ilahi. Ku serah segalanya pada yang maha mengetahui. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kak Nga. That was a very good poem. Please don't feel that way. I hear a lot of guilt through that poem. I hope it's a way for you to express and a way for you to cope. I hope it has made you feel better. Meluahkan apa yang Kak Nga rasa, insyaAllah.
InsyaAllah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope to hear more of your poem lepas ni, insyaAllah. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Kak Nga. Thank you, Abdullah.
Thank you.
Terima kasih.
Bye, Abdullah.
Bye. Take care,
Terima
Abdullah.
kasih.
Tengah. Okay.
Bye.
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum.